Well, good morning and welcome into the WVLT newsroom here on this Thursday, January the 29th. I'm Will Puckett. Thanks for joining us for today's edition of Catch Up Quick. We hope you are warm. If you're not, we hope that you warm up soon because, well, we are going to be cold moving forward. We'll have First Alert meteorologist Kyle Granger in with us in just a little bit, but we want to get to some of today's top headlines before we move into what you can expect from a couple of First Alert weather days over the weekend and some maybe touch of winter weather depending on where you are tuning in today here across East Tennessee. We begin though right now with a man dead after an officer involved shooting in North Knoxville and a child at the center of an endangered child alert now back safe, but is also facing charges after this situation unfolded in an apartment complex in North Knoxville just off of Clinton Highway, really close to the Knoxville Expo Center in an apartment complex near there. Here's what we know today from the Knoxville Police Department. They say a 46-year-old man is dead and a missing girl is now safe. Police say that when they attempted to detain the man and child, the man pointed a gun at officers, resulting in KPD officers shooting the man dead right there in that apartment. No officers were hurt, but they said when they were in the process of detaining both the man and the 15-year-old girl, they said that the girl actually had hit one of the officers over the head with a large knife. That officer was wearing a helmet, was uninjured at the time, but that 15-year-old girl is facing assault charges. She, though, is safe, and now the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation is leading the look at this entire officer-involved shooting and also the operation to save the person at the center of that endangered child alert that was issued the day before. Again, that officer-involved shooting involved an endangered child alert investigation that had unfolded the day before. A man is now dead as a result of pointing a gun at officers, the Knoxville Police Department tells us, but the 15-year-old is safe but facing charges. Meanwhile, happening in the state, TBI Director David Roush, who's also the former chief of police at the Knoxville Police Department, is asking for a meeting at the White House. This all comes as tensions between law enforcement and the American public are at a nearly all-time high after the shooting deaths of two people in Minneapolis as ICE operates in the state of Minnesota and folks are protesting and events unfold from there. Roush is also, I want to get this right, he is the executive director of an organization that works with police all throughout the country. And now he thinks that a meeting at the White House between police and the officials with the administration might tamp down that pressure and eventually make Tennesseans and the entire country safer. Now, our Jared Austin actually sat down and spoke via Zoom with Director Roush about his idea and why he feels it's important to have this conversation. Jared was able to talk with him yesterday. Here is his report he filed for our news yesterday.
David Roush, one of Tennessee's highest-ranking law enforcement agents, wants to have cooler heads prevail with tensions high across the country.
What we want to make sure is that it's being done appropriately and effectively. And that's the goal.
Roush feels there's an ongoing challenge over public safety and a disconnect between local, state, and federal law enforcement.
The coordination, collaboration between federal, state, and local government is done consistently most of the time. And what we've seen is just lately that hasn't been the case.
Roush also serves as president for the International Association of Chiefs of Police. That group represents not only Tennessee law enforcement, but agencies nationwide. This group has requested a meeting at the White House to figure out how law enforcement can do the job at hand while also keeping our community safe.
I think there's a number of reasons, not just beneficial to law enforcement, it's beneficial to all of our communities, right? Community safety, officer safety, all goes hand in hand.
Roush saying the ICE shooting in Minnesota this past weekend escalated the conversation to meet in D.C. He feels coming to an agreement on how to enforce the law can help de-escalate things.
I think the conversation and the outcomes could benefit all of us, right? It's an assurance that we're paying attention to what's important for the safety of communities.
Now, that's our Jared Austin reporting. Now, Director Roush actually said that there was a similar meeting in 2016 when there was a little bit of high pressure between the American public and law enforcement. He said that good conversation and results came out of that. His hope now is that they can repeat what happened in 2016 and do so now here as we get closer and closer to 2020, or deeper into 2026 and into 2027. So we'll keep in touch with Director Roush. We'll keep in touch with the TBI to see if something actually comes from this. Again, this is Director Roush's role as president of the International Association of Chiefs of Police. That brings chiefs of police from all across the country into an ideas meeting. They hope to take that to the White House and have a little bit of a conversation on how maybe to tamp down a little bit on these conversations and go maybe a little bit further into depth on how we can maybe change the tone that's sweeping across the country. All right, also here at home right now, we found out from the Knox Regional Forensic Center that they're looking into 3 possible weather-related deaths in Knox County. They say 2 of them were homeless men found outside. One of them was found near Asheville Highway this past Saturday. The other was found in a backyard on Monday. Then the third person was a 72-year-old woman who they say died at UT Medical Center on Monday. They're awaiting autopsies to be able to determine the cause of deaths for those 3 people. They believe that possibly the winter weather played a role in their deaths. They're doing the autopsies. We should have the reports back on them relatively quickly. When we get that information, we will pass it along to you. Again, this is a look at how much cleanup is going to take in the city of Nashville and in the mid-state as folks are beginning to clean up from that winter weather event. Just look at this. The weight of that ice and snow is cracking trees literally down the middle, falling on homes, creating hazards, especially as crews effort their way to cleaning up this winter weather mess and restoring power to people in the mid-state who are still without. I had mentioned before we got into this that we'd have First Alert meteorologist Kyle Granger join us before we get into East Tennessee's weather. Kyle, when you see stuff like this, you've done weather for a while. What's your reaction when you see the weight of this snow and ice literally cracking trees?
It shows you just how powerful the weight of that ice can be. You know, some of those tree limbs, yeah, maybe they were a little weak to begin with, but when you start seeing how it just brings the entire tree down, not just the tree limb, that shows you the power of it. And what I would encourage you to do is just take one of those glasses, those plastic glasses, fill it maybe halfway with water, stick it in your freezer, then weigh it, and then compare it to the same amount of water in that same cup, and then weigh both, and then see how much the weight of the ice just doubles compared to the liquid version of it. It's amazing that ice can weigh that much, but yeah, it can create a lot of damage, and of course, not only to mention the slips and falls and trying to travel on it as well. So.
And all the dangers. I mean, you have to imagine that even those big trucks that linemen work in, they don't stand a chance against ice, and so you're going to need a whole lot of power from the sun and a whole lot of melting and hopefully sooner or later warm weather to get that all cleared up.
It's not here.
Yeah, it's not here. No, the cold weather ain't coming anytime soon. Like I mentioned, I bring Kyle in. Kyle, we have now 2 First Alert weather days, Saturday and Sunday this week, that folks need to know about. Look, everybody's eyes are going to go directly to the chance of snow that we are expecting to see in some parts of East Tennessee. But what they really need to be watching out for are the freezing cold temperatures that take us back to what it felt like Monday.
Yeah, I think the fewer rather than the more when it comes to the snow, but we all will be impacted by this. And if for some reason we lose power, your home's going to get cold really quickly. And so we're going to need to make sure we're planning ahead, thinking about those options of what maybe we could do, those alternate heating sources. Look for it now.
Yeah.
Have that in place just in case, because we don't want to see some of the situations we've seen where people are pulling sources in to heat their home that they really shouldn't have been, or like we talked about yesterday, get the chimney cleaned. I know it's last minute, but if you haven't done that, we don't want any problems from that as well. So you see the graphic there beside us. Maybe that kind of scared people, but we do have a winter weather opportunity that's coming through. So let me walk you through the future cast. Yes, we're cold on Friday, but at least we get into the mid-30s.
Above freezing.
Give us a little bit of melting
Thaw out a little bit,
but here comes these snow flurries and snow showers. Now Friday, it's going to be hit or miss. We may not see anything where we are in Knoxville, but you see the line there back over into Kingston. You might see a little band that develops and comes over you. By the time we get into Saturday morning, we're watching really from Knoxville and points off to the east that see the heaviest bands of snow when you get into those deeper blues. So very traditionally, the Gatlinburgs, the Townsends, the Wares Valley, they're going to see big impacts here. I think it's just a couple of flurries for Knoxville, maybe some dusting on grassy surfaces like we saw Monday, maybe when we woke up and had that in different areas.
Made it look really pretty, though.
It did look really pretty, and it didn't cause very many problems.
It didn't cause many problems at all.
But again, the cold stays with us because look at what happens when we get into the afternoon. Look at these temperatures.
Nosediving.
16 in Knoxville, 15 in Pigeon Forge, but it feels like negative.
And the good news, the cold temperatures, you can't work your way around that being very good news. But when it comes to snowfall at temperatures that look like this, it is that light, fluffy snow that really blows everywhere. It's not that 32 to 26 degree snow that just feels like literal wet
snowball
blanket.
fight snow.
Yeah, exactly. No, this is the stuff that when you try and put it and you throw it when it goes poof.
Yeah,
right
the air will take it away.
Yeah.
But that's thanks to the dry air that we have in place. I was looking at some of the forecasting. We could have negative dew points. Now, the dew point is what we look at in terms of how much moisture is in the air. There's air around us right now. Some of the kids get excited at school when I say, there's moisture, there's water around you right now that's in the air. Can you see it? And they're like, no. And I'm like, that's because it is evaporated. But then when you start boiling a pot of water on the stove, and then you get that little section there where you've got what looks like the steam or the fog or whatever that develops between that and the hood of the stove. It's all weather happening in microclimates, and it happens all around us every day. Now, when you put it into Mother Nature, that's when we start seeing the snow and the different things like that. Of course, cold needs to be paid very close attention to both Saturday and Sunday. That's the reason for the first alert weather days.
Yeah, the cold, the cold, the cold. That's why we keep on stressing that to you. Look, the snow's going to grab the headlines. Everybody's going to look at that, but the chilly temperatures are what you all need to be watching out for and what we continue to first alert you to. Look, we've got everything you need to know inside your WVLT News app and the First Alert Weather app. That is always going to be where we will first alert you to everything happening climate-wise across East Tennessee. Look, we're talking about freezing cold temperatures right now, but when we get into the dog days of summer, late July, early August, and we're talking 100, 105 feels likes, that's also where people are like, oh my God, well, that sounds great right now. Well, as a cold weather fan, it doesn't sound that great, even though as my hands crack because it's so dry.
So you're an Indiana guy. You're used to some of the cold, and I'm from South Carolina, and we're not used to it. When I said it on TV today, when you're talking about 4 inches of snow in Myrtle Beach, I mean, that's like shutting the town down.
Yeah, no, that's not good news for people in Myrtle Beach. Both of my parents from Michigan too, so they're like, give us the snow, give us the snow, give us the snow. But it just continues to remind you that this is why it's great to have our apps. We want you to know everything that you need to know as we get into the winter weather events, and we're still not out of it. Look, people are going to say, what's Puxatawny Phil going to do on Monday? It doesn't matter. We still have 6 more weeks of winter no matter what he says when he gets out here.
And I'll remind you about the app. If, say, you were going to Myrtle Beach, our app follows you. So it will tell you the weather there, the radar there, everything you need to know while you're traveling, no matter where you're going. So you're always prepared.
Always prepared. All right, let's see what this double box has in store for us. It's just, again, like Kyle had mentioned, to be aware of that cold weather. This is what it looks like Nashville trying to thaw out. The only thing thawing Nashville out right now is the sun because they're experiencing the same cold temperatures we are. But Kyle just noted that how heavy ice is, especially when it freezes time and time again. Crews are actively trying to get out of that snow recovery and starting to recover, but it's still a long ways to go. Our Lindsay Stenger is actually reporting in Nashville for us the rest of the week, helping out our sister station in Nashville too. She talked to one woman who told her that it just plain stinks that they're still without power. They're trying to run a generator and a space heater in a single room in their home to try and get as warm as possible. But she's telling Lindsay that it's difficult to get things warm for even her and her dogs.
And they couldn't give me an ETA. They just said they're doing their best. Yeah. So it's been 4 days and we're sharing a generator. I have a little space heater and we're just locked in the bedroom at night with it. And it's kind of depressing and it kind of sucks.
Yeah, you can't imagine being without power. I mean, some people are going on day 5 without power. You can imagine of just how draining that is, probably having to take time off of work. But Nashville electrical crews say they are working. They've got about 1,000 people on the ground in the mid-state working to make sure that people can have electricity back, lights on, heating on, all of that. But it's not an easy setup at all. Now, we do know that the Tennessee National Guard is hard at work keeping Tennesseans safe. Staff say guardsmen who are part of the Memphis Safe Task Force actually are responding to storm-related emergencies. They're helping drivers who are stuck. They're also getting healthcare workers to hospitals, this time in Shelby County specifically. In other parts of Tennessee, they're helping clear trees out of roadways, helping in shelters, and getting fuel where it needs to go. We also know that the TDOT here in East Tennessee actually has sent 17 additional crews to Middle Tennessee. Their job is to continue to work to clear roads, to clear ways to get to access points to return electricity. And so it just continues to be an all-hands-on effort to return power to people in the mid-state as still thousands remain without power going on day 5, inching closer to day 6. Kyle and I talked about it just a short while ago. Saturday and Sunday coming up this week are first alert weather days because of bitterly cold temperatures. Feels like hovering around 0 or even below 0. And so that's something that we are first alerting you to. Our weather team, first alert weather team, continues to make sure that you are aware that we are going to be bitterly cold again this weekend. Headlines are going to be snow moving in. How impactful is that going to be? I'll leave that up to the meteorologists. They say probably not that much, especially in the valley. If you get up to your higher points in Townsend, Gatlinburg, Pigeon Forge, Sevier County, parts of Blount, Monroe, Greene and Cott County is probably going to have a little bit more impact, as you can see right here. But it's still important to note that the temperatures are what everyone across East Tennessee needs to be concerned with right now. Of course, you can find all of this information streaming 24/7 inside the WVLT Plus streaming sites. You can find this also inside your WVLT News and First Alert weather apps, also on all the WVLT streaming sites. But as it is right now, it is a cold day across East Tennessee. You can see a cold Tennessee River and into South Knox right now. Warmer days are ahead, but we got to get past these 2 first alert weather days this Saturday and Sunday as this cold weather continues to have a grip on East Tennessee. We'll have your latest forecast and a look at the newest models that have come out here in the past couple of hours, starting at noon on WVLT News with Harry and Kyle, and then all day right here streaming on WVLT Plus, and then 3:30 this afternoon. But again, immediately coming up at noon on WVLT. We will see you all there.